We started our journey by an invitation of the Italian embassy in Tirana. We came here without really knowing what to do, if it was possible to do even a project. The only thing that it was very clear for us, for me and for the artist, was that we wanted to find an entry point and an understanding to really produce a project. Veggenti, the series, is really talking about an intuition and a way of thinking a project through the experience that we have, and the experience was also somehow in connections with a partner we found here, which is Harabel. Harabel is the organization hosting us here and also curating with us this project. So it's not about exchange, it's not about transferring, it's not about putting two countries together in a sort of rhetorical way. It's actually working and finding ways to create a new content, a radical content that could talk to Tirana and to Albania, but also can talk back to us and give an image, of what we could propose and understand as a project here. The exhibition shows part of the research that the two artists have undertaken throughout the month that talk also with the venue that we are in. The venue is a house from the 30s, a house that it was somehow used and misused throughout the decades, and that was vacant when we came here. So the decision together with Harabel to take the place, renovating partially, and to make the house itself a sort of symbolic place where the research could actually be presented is also part of the project itself. So what I think the public can see here is a sort of experience that through the traveling throughout the exhibition you could get into this domestic sort of mood, but also unexpected, basically, change of directions and feelings that really talks on all the senses. It's not only a visual art exhibition, there was also a performative aspect of that, and there is also, this idea of bringing Tirana and some of this presence of the city inside the villa itself. So this is a bit of the background of the exhibitions, and I'm sure the artist is going to tell you much more about the single artworks presented.
My name is Andrea Anastasio. I'm from Italy, and I come from a ground of industrial design, and therefore I've been constantly focusing on what happened in the domestic space. I then later understood that I was much more interested in understanding the relationship between human beings, space, and objects they live with, and that's when my practice has changed, and it has been focusing more and more on anthropological aspect. When I got invited to be part of this project, I came to Tirana with a sense of openness and unknown. I must say that the most important aspect of this project at the beginning was really allowing ourselves to understand whether we could trust each other. An art project is very much rooted in trust. If there is no trust, somehow you don't feel the freedom that is necessary to develop a thought about a project. And with that feeling of trust, Patrick and myself, have been looking at each other with a lot of care, and in a very natural way we have been deciding materials in a way that they could generate a dialogue without just opposing one on top of the other, but with a thought that could unify these two different ways of practicing. After understanding what he was planning to do with his ceramic work, I decided to focus on the domestic space. We are inside a building which was inhabited by people, and therefore I decided to use all the materials and objects that are directly linked to domestic space and daily life. So there is a bed sheet, floor tiles, there's a chandelier, and there's a curtain. After I've been working with that, on the last day of our first stay in Tirana, I got this very intense insight on sound, and I realized how much sound and songs are very much part of the daily life in the domestic space, and that's when I came with the idea of inviting a choir of polyphonic music from Albania that could reenact these songs alive. Most of the people I met were talking about spending time in Italy and missing Albania, and coming back to Albania and missing in Italy. And that's a very relevant dimension to me, as we are all human beings, that we always relate to the people we live with right at that moment, but then we have also linked, an emotional linked with the place we live in. Overall, after seeing the opening, I must say that the most powerful dimension to me was this feeling of dialogue that came out throughout the exhibition with the artists, with the people, the curators, and with the local place.
Hi, my name is Tuttofuoco. I'm an Italian artist, and I came to Tirana for the first time for this project. And the project I have been doing here is in relationship with and dialogue with, of course, the space, the situation, the city, but also with the other artist, Andrea and Anastasio. We managed to find a way to get into each other in the sense of the practice, and we try to understand a little bit better about the place. The main idea of the project has been about the concept of identity. It's something that I addressed in my work many times before, but it gets even more important when you think about the situation, like the history of a country like Albania, in which a lot of people has been traveling back and forward. So bringing back stories, bringing back emotion, bringing back different point of view, which is the very basic of art in a way, in a sense. Now, so we start to think about the idea of a show that we call I Veggenti, the seers, which tell the story of the artist itself as a central key character in the society that has the responsibility to see beyond what is physical matter, beyond what is the status quo of reality, and try to get some newer point of view, or if not newer, let's say different point of view about the world. And one of the work that I made, and where you can understand that the concept of identity is really central, is a portrait that I made of Androniki Zengo, which was, from my point of view, she has been really important in the sense of being a veggente, a seer. So she has been able to see through and beyond her time. And so she managed to find a way to express herself through art, even if it was really difficult in general, and especially for a woman. So another very important element has been into my practice, and in most specifically in this case, is the material that we choose, that I choose to do these objects. That I choose ceramic. That is a very ancient, let's say, a way to tell things, but try to bend it into contemporary surface, contemporary feeling. So the idea of dealing with different layers of history, it's been, of course, coming from the experience that I had here in Tirana. And the experience is really important because it happened to been realized according to many people, like always. So like we had the dialogue between me and Andrea Anastasio. We had a very important dialogue between us and the curator Davide Quadrio and Ajola Xoxa. And then we also have Harabel, which is a reality that we found here, but it was really prominent and already kicking alive the situation in Tirana. So all those things, they kind of melted together into the actual realization of the pieces. So this is one of the cases in which you open up to things, you transform yourself, your point of view, and you actually manage to see beyond the surface of reality.